if you don't mind. What is your name and where are you from?
My name's Paul McGrath, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
And when and how did you originally hear about my lessons?
Originally saw a lesson of yours on YouTube, I'm going to say around 2012, 2013, maybe even earlier, and was immediately interested in your method. It was something that really spoke to me, that I really could understand on a novice beginner level, but then also could grow into intermediate and more difficult advanced settings.
Okay. And what did you like most about learning from my method?
That I could listen to a song in a movie soundtrack or a commercial or hear something on the radio and then say, I want to play that. And then go to your site and so many times the song would be there that I wanted to learn. Phil Collins, Against All Odds. Hadn't heard it for years. When,
Mm-hmm.
Heard it on the radio, was like, gosh, that's so great. And then went on there and you had the lessons, and that I could do them in my own time, that I
Mm-hmm.
could learn a part of the song, another part of the song, and that I was able to understand the method and pick right up where I left off if I even hadn't touched it for a week or two, and go back and forth. And so for me, it was the excitement of hearing a song from my youth or just something I'm interested in, and then looking it up and be like, wow, he has a 5-part lesson of this song that I just heard on, a Journey song or something that I think we're similar age. I'm
Yeah.
at 50. And so maybe
Yeah.
a lot of musical sensibilities of like that we like different things. I know you have patrons that help with individual lessons or things like
Right.
that. But anyway, your library is
Yeah.
so vast that I can look up different songs from Sinatra, Elvis, Elton, Barry Manilow, Journey, you name it, Air Supply. So many great, great songs. The Eagles, on and on and on. Desperado. So some of the early songs was Bob Seger and
Yeah.
the Eagles, that I could just listen to a song on the radio and then say, I want to learn that. And then go to your lessons. And within a little time, I was playing it.
Well, I have to give credit to all the hired request members, I have to say, because they chose everything that's on there, 99.9%. I will occasionally add something of my own, but the great majority of it is people requesting things, and you guys have great taste in music. So that's why there's such a good choice on there, because I'm doing that for 18 years. I've just realized, and that's a lot of content
And even
on there.
more recent stuff, Taylor Swift songs.
Yeah, I had a
Incredible.
guy want that for his daughter. His daughter's really into Taylor Swift, so he wanted to learn a few songs for her, and I think he wanted to get her playing piano. So that's where that came from. I was surprised as anyone
But yeah, I
that
mean, Lady
requested that.
Gaga, on and on. So many that's what is so appealing to me, is your library is so vast, from classical, you know, Rat Pack style stuff,
Yep.
60s,
Yep.
Mamas and the Papas. I mean, you have it all in there. The
Yeah.
70s, 80s, they got some Cure clips. I know you probably have another person you're gonna have to do an interview with, but
But we're okay.
please go ahead with your questions,
Well,
because I know you might be
now
short on
I'll comment
time.
too that some of the newer stuff where I get like the Taylor Swift thing, I'm having second generation web piano teacher members. The kids are getting on the site and starting to learn, and then they're asking, "Hey, Dad, I want to learn this song." So that's where if you see a new thing, that's Taylor Swift or whatever in that's post 90s or whatever, that's usually what it's from, is a kid wanting something from their parents. What makes my method different from any other or from other online piano lessons?
Well, it's you, Shawn. Your personality comes through. It's genuine. It's not phony, and it's also very encouraging. I think that you just have a way about your nature that is very easy on the ear to listen to your lessons, to listen to how you're explaining things. You're very thorough. You take the time, because these are videos that are, they're going to live forever, right? And so there's no need to rush through a lesson. And I think that's a key, is that other online lessons, they race through it so fast and you're like, I can't do that quick. And you break down note for note on each chord of what the change is. Okay, so everything's the same, but now you're dropping that B down to an A, just on the right hand right here. And now you're going to drop on the third time, you're going to drop this one down as you're going down the scale or up the scale, depending. So it's really you, Shawn, is I think your method and the way you explain it is what's very helpful for me and that I identified with.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I have to give credit to my 20 years of teaching 50 students a week. Those people taught me how to teach. And then I started the online stuff after that. So after having 20 years of doing that, you learn a thing or two about what people need in general and what they need encouragement on. And so those things are just popping into my head from all those years of teaching. And I really feel like this sounds crazy, but I feel like I have a connection on the camera. I feel like I can see you guys at your piano while I'm teaching you, and that helps me too. I just kind of feel that going on, kind of a spiritual thing there between you guys. So that helps as well. Would you, or on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with my lessons?
11. This one goes to 11.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate
No,
that.
absolutely. I've tried to refer other people to your lessons, or say, hey, go to YouTube and see a couple early ones. And then, if that speaks to you, get a membership, get it going. But extremely happy. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want, I don't have another, online service. I don't have another, you're my teacher.
Great. Wonderful.
I know, I definitely, and in fact, I was just trying to look online to see like when I originally signed up with you. You might have to look at that.
I'll be able to tell once I get in and look.
But no,
well,
it's been fantastic. Very happy, very pleased. And I even worry sometimes that like it won't be there, because hey, businesses are hard. Businesses are hard. It's hard to keep it going. It's hard to keep things going on a financial level, and then also just your inertia and your energy to want of keep going and keep doing it. So I really appreciate that you're updating things all the time, that there's new things. I see an old lesson that was a whiteboard lesson and now you've updated it, and I'm like, and then it's new again. So because you've also advanced not just your teaching but your explanatory ways. And I'm sorry, you probably have another person right now.
Well, no, we're okay. I'll cut you off when I need to. But that's funny because you mentioned that, because I've tried a couple of times to update lessons, and immediately I get emails. Where's the old video? I want the old one back. They want the old grainy 360, video, and the kids screaming in the background. So I was like, okay, then I put it, I change it. But every time I try to do that, so now if I update it, I'll leave the old one on there too, so people can still have the old one. But it's so hilarious to get that. Well, Paul, thank you so much for talking with me. I'm gonna send you one link. It's a Google review link. This helps me tremendously, the testimonial, but that Google review link helps my SEO go up way. I didn't realize how good it would do. So my business coaches are giving me great advice. But if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute to fill that out, it really helped me. Appreciate it. All right. And of course, I left my mouse over there, so I can't stop the video until I go over there. But thank you for meeting with me today. All right. Talk to you later, Paul.
I just want to say
it's
thank
a treat
you
for
so
me.
much.
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome, Paul. It's a treat for me too. Everyone says they feel like they know me, and my answer to that is, yeah, you probably do. There's not much to me and everything I say in my lessons, so it's neat to get to meet you guys. Well, Paul, how long have you been with me?
I feel like it's, gosh, about 10 years maybe.
Okay, wow.
I don't know if you can see on the membership. I have a lifetime membership.
Yes, yes.
So I don't know. You're like, damn, why did I sell that?
No, you know what? I have to tell you, so, that there's kind of mixed feelings on whether a lifetime is a good thing for a website, especially a recurring membership thing like I have. But I tell you, I did those specials when I needed cash to pay for a baby being born, or a down payment on a new house, stuff like that. Taxes, if taxes were big that year, and it seems like I always owe more money than I get than I already give them. Stuff like that. So that has really saved me, the lifetime memberships. And now these testimonials are gold. So I have all these people that have been with me for 10 or plus years that maybe not have been if they didn't get the lifetime. So I'm getting all these great testimonials because these are supposed to really help my business, because I'm getting help now on the business side. So
Good.
that's what all this is about. But I've enjoyed it. So 10 years. Wow. So
Yeah,
you
maybe
were
even
back
more. Maybe more.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I could look back and see, but I
Uh-huh.
started with you with I think a 3-month membership, like an intro one,
Yeah.
after seeing a few of your videos online, and was just blown away how quickly I was able to adapt to your style and your method and your teaching. And I had some background, and I'd been playing for a couple of years, and had taken lessons in college and so on, and just worked on it myself.
Yeah.
But so I understand the shapes and the forms for the chords, and I could recognize, oh, that's an A
Sure.
minor. Okay, that's D. That's this, that. But the way that you have it layered out, it was just something that really resonated with me, that I was like, this is fantastic.
So you were back probably even the days when I had the actual whiteboard
Yeah,
with the marker.
right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something.
And you have to
Wow.
scratch it out and be like, oh, that's actually an F sharp. That's not F.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those whiteboards, man, that was neat. Those were a lot of trouble back in the day. It's a lot easier now, but those I would take them out of. Sometimes they would only fit if I took them out of the frame, so they're real sharp on the edge. I mean, it's just sharp metal. And yeah, my kids would come in there sometimes, and tell them, don't touch them, and they would have to touch them anyway. And they'd come in there with a cut on their finger. Hilarious, but wow, way back then. So when you saw my method with this crazy stuff with the letters on the whiteboard, did that immediately click for you, or did you have to look at it and go, wait a minute, what is this? How did that process?
It immediately clicked for me. I think having some rudimentary background, definitely beginner, novice, but understood chords and structures and key signatures. And so I immediately recognized the shapes of the chords without having to look at, oh, that's a dot, that's in the space, because I can read music as well, but I didn't have to,
Yeah.
I didn't have to read the music. And that's what
Yeah.
was so helpful, that I didn't have to look at it and say, okay, every good boy does, okay, that's on the dot,
Yeah,
that's in
right,
the
right.
space, that's in the spot, and just
Same.
recognize immediately, okay, so that's a D, that's an F sharp, and that's an A. Okay, that's a first inversion of the D chord, and so on.
Yes.
I can recognize the shapes by reading it. And then also, I love the way that you have it layered out, as far as left to right, and then for us right to left, so that when
Yeah.
you're reading the song, you're going through it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and kind of can feel it. And sometimes I jump around on different songs. I've probably learned about 50 or 60 songs from you. I know you have
Oh my gosh.
hundreds of more.
Whoa.
And then I forget them sometimes, or I'll get to a point and I go, what is that next chord? And then I go back to the
Yeah.
video and I look, oh, lesson 4, in the middle of lesson 4, that's where it shows this pre-chorus section. And then I remember it again. But because I've learned it, 8 or 7 years earlier, it comes back to me much faster.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. 50 or 60. Wow. That's incredible. Man.
Maybe more.
Because
Maybe more.
it's one thing to learn one song well and then go on to the next one, but to actually, kind of keep them in your wheelhouse where you can go back and play them at any moment, like maybe take a day and then you'll have that song back. That's another skill too. And it's wonderful to hear you 50 or 60. That's incredible. So I'd love to hear you also say that the method immediately clicked for you, because I realize I have like a split second when someone looks at it, and if they don't get it, then they move on. They don't give it that, look at it maybe for 30 seconds and see if because it's not really that much different than sheet music. I still write, it's still bottom to top. It's still, moving, left to right like sheet music does. I just take out that step of having to know what, where the dot is on the piano. I just put the name of it. And in fact, I wonder why didn't people do that to begin with? But
I did too. I did too. But no, it immediately clicked with me. And I think it would for anyone, even if somebody doesn't know how to read music. if they, look at some of your early lessons and
Yeah.
just understand the note. This is C, this is D, E, F, and the sharps and flats. That just knowing that much can get them going.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Paul, actually, I think that people that have had reading music experience, they have a tougher time. Someone who's just fresh, they seem to just jump right into it. They go, okay, these are the names of the notes. I'm off to the races. But I think their mind is so geared to that reading music that they just, I'm not going to try this because it looks so different. But it's not really that different if you give it just
It's
a
not.
second. And
I did.
I
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
no, you're not.
Uh, um, in fact, because a friend of mine who is a much more accomplished pianist than I am, I showed him your methods because I was playing Bob Seger Against the Wind,
Oh yeah, that's classic.
which was the one. Honestly, that was the song that got me to find you because I
Okay.
wanted to learn that piano solo. So,
Oh yeah,
I was like, I want to know that piano solo in the middle, and which is I think lesson 4 in it. So I'm like, got to buy the membership to get the lesson 2, 3,
right.
4. And
Yeah.
so that's how it started. But anyway, I played that solo, and he's like, "Oh, that's really great." And I was like, "Oh, I found this web piano teacher. Shawn is an incredible resource." And I showed him because so like the first lesson is on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I showed him your methodology, but because he is so geared to reading, he couldn't pick it up. He was like, I don't understand that. I don't get that. But I was like, for me, it's just as easy as reading a book. It's just so straightforward because I would never consider myself a sight reader or like a real accomplished read. I have more scholastic skills where I got to look at it, I got to study it, I got to commit it to memory, and then really just have it so that I don't have to look at the sheet music anymore. Because if I look at it, I start to lose tempo, I start to lose timing, I start to lose things. So it's like I have to just memorize the whole piece, and where somebody else can just look at it and go. But I need to really look at it and break it down. And that's why I love your videos, that in small sections, I can watch, this verse and then this chorus. And sometimes I pop around and I learn the song out of order in different places and learn different parts of the song and then put them all together. I don't always start with the intro. Maybe I'll learn a verse and then learn the bridge and then maybe the intro. I kind of pop all around, just whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah. I think, Paul, that I've noticed this too. People that are really good note readers, a lot of times, and I don't want to offend them, but it's that they don't maybe have the greatest ears in the world. So that's the only way they can do it, is by becoming proficient at reading. And so that's their strength. And so that's what they work on. They become, good note readers. People that have a really great ear and an instinct for music, sometimes the reading music gets in the way because that's your strength, the ear and the hearing. So you're hearing it and that's what it sounds like. And then you just play it. You're not really reading the music, and the piano teacher doesn't know you're not really reading it. It's, he's reading it. He's doing good. And you keep moving, keep going, keep going. And then eventually it falls apart because the music gets too hard to read. And I think because of that strength, you're using what is good, what works for you. And so the sight reading suffers. There's a way to get past that, but in traditional music lessons, you tend to just go one song at a time and memorize it and move on. And so that ear is getting really good. Those musical instincts are getting really strong, but the reading is suffering because you don't need to do it to play it. We're going to use what our strength is, whatever it is, and you reasonably get to that point where you fall off because the music gets too hard to read. And so I feel that's the separator sometimes. Not to say that a good ear person can't read music, but it tends to work against you if you're doing traditional piano music lessons like I did. I'm not a great reader for my skill level, for sure.
You're an incredible player, though. You're fantastic. Like whatever you do the song in the beginning, or like the part of the song we're going to work on in the lesson, and I'm like, I just have to accept it's not going to sound like that. And that's what you say in your lessons too. Hey, do what's best for you. Do what feels right for you as far as your timing, your tempo, or you show variations of like, this is more advanced to play with, 4 fingers on this. If you need that, leave the top note off or whatever. I'm listening. So I've watched a lot of your lessons, and some lessons, I go by the skill level.
Yeah.
the one, the two, the three. I'm not great. I can't. My left hand. I'm mostly octaves on the
Yeah.
left hand,
That's the way most
and
stuff is.
maybe pepper in the note, a bass note right before the next one, just an
Hmm.
extra one here and there. But most of the time, I I am playing an octave bass note and then playing the chords and the melody, which is different because in prior life of learning music, I would play the chord with the left hand, just like a static
Yes.
F
Yeah.
chord, and then a melody.
That's how it's written.
And I want to sing it. So that's
Yeah.
why I love your method, is because I can play what the musician somewhat would be playing on
Yes.
stage.
So here, Paul, this brings me to another thing. Do you notice or care that when I do my arrangements, I try to make them exactly like the album? I'm not perfect, but I try to get as close as I can to exactly what the artist is playing.
Yeah.
Like, if Roy Bitten's playing something, I want to do exactly what he's doing as best as I can so that you can play what he's playing. Is that
Yeah.
something you notice?
I do notice that, and I notice you'll even say like, okay, I hear the bass guitar is doing this one
Yeah.
note here, and I'm going to throw in that little lick or
Yeah.
something right here, and feel free to play it if you want to, but if you don't want, it's just something. And you'll also on Elton John songs or various other songs, I love that you'll give the fills, but say, hey, if that's too much, just play the chords, right through it. So no, I do appreciate that, and you'll show that it's this one on the first verse, second verse doesn't do it, but then they do it on the third verse. So
Yep.
that it's not the same exact thing on each verse, that you throw in those little flavors of variation so it doesn't just sound like you're playing the same verse over and over.
And Paul, I think that's why I've survived. I didn't plan it that way, but in a world where you can get any lesson on YouTube, maybe 1,000 lessons on any song on YouTube, I'm still surviving pretty well because of that, I think. So it's like if you got sheet music, let's say you got an Elton John song, I can read music. I want to play the songs I want to play. I want to play Tiny Dancer, and then you're ready to play this. Oh, it's not turned on. Give me a second here.
I can tell that
Okay, so you're expecting to, then you get the music and it does this. Like, what? I wanted to play Elton John. So the transcriptions have never really caught up, and I think it's that way because they're trying to sell sheets, and more people are going to be able to play it that first way and be okay with it than would actually spend the time to learn it the real way. But yeah, so I was going to ask you. Sounds like you play a lot of songs. Do you sing too, and do you ever
Yeah.
play for anybody else?
Not, I mean, when I was a kid and young, we were in bands. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm in
Okay.
the sound business, because all
Oh,
of us
really?
people in sound, I see you've got the SM7B microphone and the
Yeah.
biodynamic headphones. And so when you said you're getting a little help in the business side, I'm
Yes,
like,
I
man, you're
am.
upping your music and sound game also. But I'm a sound mixer at Disney. So I work
Oh,
on animated
oh,
films,
no way.
and
I want to hear about that. That
but
is incredible.
so
Let,
we all love music, which is
yeah.
why we get into the sound business. All of us, but I'm an ADR mixer. I record the character voices and animation for all the animated films, Toy Story, Frozen,
No way.
Encanto, Moana 2 is coming out right now, but like all those types of movies. And I lost my train of thought because I was talking about microphones there. What was your question again?
I was just saying that's incredible that you do that. That is amazing. So how did you land that job? How did you get to that field? Is that what you always wanted to do?
We always kind of fall into where we are based on our love of other things,
Okay.
I find. So that was what I was saying. So I was in bands in high school and college, played keys, usually the organ sounds and just padded
Yeah.
chords over rock and roll
Uh-huh.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, do all of that stuff, and was a radio disc jockey, just a local college radio station. And then I wanted to get into music when I graduated from college. And my brother was like, no, 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 no. Audio post, there's no money in the studio business anymore, because the days of big studios was closing as far as music studios. There's still Capitol Records out here, and and those other places, but there was a ton of little Cherokee and many smaller studios. The big ones are still there. The Village, where Fleetwood Mac, I see you got Rumors there. That we just did some sessions over there last week. At
Wow.
Village, which
Wow.
in Santa
Right there
Monica,
where they did. Okay.
where they did Rumors and all of that. But anyhow, I've been to Abbey Road there, where I see you got, the boys walking across the street.
Oh my goodness.
But for audio post for movies, and
Yeah.
so I segued out of the music side as far as a technical person recording music, because I used to record orchestras and things, and got into more audio post production, which
Okay.
is the voiceovers, the dialogue, not me doing them, recording people doing them. And then I worked at a big audio studio in Hollywood, and one day, and Disney was one of our big clients. And one day, about 15 years ago, they said, "Hey, we're going to build our own studio. Would you want to work for us directly?" It's always better to be on the team than a hired hand for the
Yeah.
vendor situation.
Yeah.
So that's how, I mean, that's a very short synopsis of 30 years, but basically because of my love for music, I wanted to be around the studio business.
Yes.
And in the bands I was in, we'd be paying, somebody who had a home studio or whatever, $50 to record guitar overdubs. And I was like, well, I should just know how to do this so I can record. I'm already doing the disc jockey thing for the college radio station. So I always had a knack for audio and signal flow. And then it just kind of transitioned into the studio business. But audio post as opposed to music. So now I record the character voices for animation. So like Moana 2, I recorded all the vocals for The Rock on the movie coming out.
I was going to say, you get to meet all these big stars.
Yeah. I did the first Moana as well. Flew me out to Miami several times to Criteria Studio out there, which is the big place where, the Bee Gees did all the Saturday Night Fever stuff, and Elton John and like the Eagles recorded
Oh my gosh.
They recorded Hotel California actually in Florida, but at that studio, the Hit Factory in Miami. But the Frozen movies as well, Let It Go, and
oh my gosh.
So I've been fortunate to stay in sound, and then part of my work is recording the voices when the actor has to sing. Really, my function is to record their dialogue.
Okay.
But so when it's time for them to sing, it's glorified karaoke. It's not like Sinatra where they're recording at Capitol and the orchestra's there and they go.
Yeah.
They're literally recording to temp score with all syncs, and it's kind of like karaoke, where I've got all the stands of the different elements and to a click track, and they're just in the headphone. I have a headphone mixer that's called the Hearback Pro that you can itemize. I want to hear the strings. I want to hear the timpani. I want to hear, the drums. I want to hear more reverb. More me is usually what the actor wants. More me.
Right.
Turn up the reverb. And so I'm tracking those songs. So I get to stay in music, 30% of the time with my work, which is great. So I've got a, nice Yamaha U3 at the studio, and this is my home studio, which is just an MX1. I love Yamaha pianos. I've got a digital one in our sunroom also that's a weighted keyboard. But I got to stay in sound. And then anytime I get to record music, I don't record the instrumentation very much. I don't know if you know who George During is, the guitar player.
No.
White hair, long, like he was just in that Stars Born movie. He's kind of guy you'd recognize him if you saw him. Kind of looks like
I bet I would.
But incredible guitar player. So occasionally I get to record elements of the music.
Yeah.
Usually we go to Fox or Sony Studios to record the big orchestras and do the orchestration. But when we're recording the character voices, they're singing to temp tracks, but are perfectly timed so that they'll lay over the orchestration on the arrangement. So that's how I got to love to do, stay in music and sound. And then, but they hire pianists to come in to work with the singers, to work them up. And my function is to just capture the performance.
That is incredible. And you might feel like you're going on about yourself, but my listeners, I guarantee you, they're going to eat this up. they're all gigging musicians. They do sound kind of, you got to do, if you're in a band that travels around, you got to know some sound. So they will be very interested in hearing all of this. And I mean, we should be interviewing you, not me, on this. That's incredible. I was going to ask you, I had just a quick question before we get, because I have some questions I'd have to ask you for the videography part of this. My business coaches want me to ask these questions, but they said, just do those questions. That's enough. But I'm like, I want to meet these people. I'm talking to them. I want to, get to know them a little bit. So they let me do that. They allow me this part of it. And then I'm going to ask you some questions at the end that might feel like you're repeating yourself, but if you wouldn't mind just answer them again. But I did have one question about the sound for my thing. Me and my son are traveling now around Waco. I live in Waco. It's a great, the city has been rejuvenated here, Fixer Upper and all that, and Magnolia Silos. But
that's right. Yeah.
We have this amazing Bose setup that a friend got for me. And I'm wondering, we set the sound, and it sounds great in here. Then if I go somewhere else and leave the settings exactly the same, all of a sudden the guitar's too loud, or it's something, I'm getting feedback. And why can't I just leave it where it is and it'd be good anywhere I go?
Well, every space is about the environment of the sound, right? So right now, you I don't know if you're in your basement or whatever, but you got a brick wall behind you. And
that's Home Depot.
I am hearing, oh, it's one of those times.
Yeah.
I do hear a little slap of myself coming back at me.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if I'm just in your headphones, or maybe I'm coming over the loudspeakers also.
Oh, there's an echo. Is that something I have to fix on my end?
I'm hearing it back on me, and it might just be that I'm coming out of the headphones into your microphone a little bit.
That might be. Okay.
And I don't want to mess up your recording.
How do I fix that?
You turn down your
a little bit.
Turn down your headphones a little bit. So every environment is different that you're in. So even I could take this, in my stage, an incredible microphone and great systems of preamps and all the best stuff, and then go and record in somebody's basement, and it's going to sound totally different.
Yeah.
With all the same settings, and it's just the environment. All right, bye, Gavin. So I have two kids too. One, he's
okay.
Now they're big though. They're driving to school.
Okay. Hey, kids.
So you can have the same exact settings, but in a different environment, it's going to sound different. Even if the knobs and the settings and all the little things are different. I have noticed in your videos over the years that it has gotten progressively better. That your sound is better, the picture's better. Now you have the your shooting down and then you can adjust the.
Yeah, I've had people helping me.
It's not a whiteboard anymore, but it's a type of thing that you can make digital changes on the fly. So you've got the screen up in front of you, and you've got a screen down below. At least that's how it appears in the videos.
Yeah. Right.
And so that you can, instead of rubbing it out with the old, whiteboard, you can just digitally change it and then probably save that and lock that in. But it's different environments. That is the key as to why the spatial relationship of the room that you're in compared to where if you are traveling somewhere, even if it's in a hotel or whatever, just every room has different dimensions, different ceiling heights, different bouncing from the walls.
That makes sense.
Padded rooms, or what if you're in a hotel or something like that? Like, kid you not, because I had COVID and whatever, we had people recording in different environments that we would never have them recording for animated films and things. Like in hotels, we would have them take the mattress off the bed and stack it up and make like a little teepee over them.
Yeah.
And then throw a blanket over that so that there's no reflections. It's not bouncing. I know you can't do that, but I'm just saying that would then minimize reflections and bounces and angles, because sound is just like water in a fishbowl. Or in the lake, you put one little thing and those ripples go out. But if they're on hard surfaces, those ripples are going to come back. And it's the same thing with sound. That water is, that if you can't have an environment that captures that, it's going to slap back at you.
Okay.
And so
hey, Paul, I just realized why we're getting an echo. I forgot to mute my my guest microphone. So I got a microphone that's pretty close to the speaker, and that's where it's coming from, I think.
Is that going to mess up your recording here?
I have some software that can remove an echo. I don't know
Yeah.
how they do it. It's Riverside, and I just hit a button and it'll take it
Okay.
off. I want to try something real quick though, if you don't mind. I'm going to hit the mute button on it and see if you still hear that, because I got to fix that.